first nuke go off and realize that nothing's ever going to be the same again when they dropped that first nuke in a city, just like, oh my god, what have you done, what have you done, and what precedent have you set? It's kind of really truly amazing that we haven't done it since then. Yeah, that's what makes you believe in the aliens and multidimensional beings, and really that, well, because isn't it just mutually sure destruction as well? No, I'm saying, like when humanity got all the nuclear bombs. And that's when you start to see all the sightings and stuff, so that's why it kind of makes sense that they'd be like, oh, what are you doing? We can't let you blow up your whole planet before you even evolve to your first level, cuz for all we know we're still white belts, right? Well, leaf cutter ants have no idea that you have a car, they have no idea what a Bitcoin is, they have no idea, you know what 4G is, they don't know, and they about cutting leaves and being right. But they're around it all the time. It's very possible that there's some like that in other dimensions that are equally bizarre that we are not connected to all the time, and they might be here all the time. And if that's the case, then it makes sense that they would start showing up when we were in the middle of dropping nukes on each other. They be like, hey, be like when your parents heard you just beating the out of each other in the other room, they come in there. Like, all right, settle down, boys, you're going to up the drywall now. Yeah, you guys are crashing into TVs, and they're like, hey, that's all it is. We're just their dumb kids in the next room making a bunch of noise because maybe they needed to let us know, like, hey, there's some other folks here, and they're way more advanced, and settle the down, and we're trying to bring you along. Just, the problem is with all that stuff is it's so hard to know what's true and what's just like the Bigfoot thing, it's so hard to, well, the Bigfoot thing is way easier, right? But the UFO thing, see, there's way more evidence. It's so hard to know what's this. It's so hard to know who's telling the truth and who's lying. It's so hard to know what involvement the government has in terms of like how many of these things are drones. You're hearing now that a lot of these are people that believe that these things are flying around. They think that what we're dealing with is some sort of a government drone, and that a lot of this off-world craft talk is really just misinformation so that they don't have to take accountability for having some crazy thing that China doesn't have, or maybe China has that we don't have, and then they want to lie about it, try to develop whatever that they have, yeah. And when you find out what they're really doing, then it's like, okay, now this makes sense, now that makes sense, because you're having to do all this to develop that. Well, there's a whole conspiracy about the invention of the transistor, because the transistor came about right after Roswell, and there's a company called Bell Labs, and Bell Labs I believe they were the people that invented the transistor, and there was a military base right outside of Bell Labs, and they had always said that military base was to protect New York City, but it pretty far from New York City. Like, if you wanted to protect New York City, put a base, say, lot closer. You wouldn't put it so far away, where it would take him like 40 minutes to fly there. Yeah, but Bell Labs is a wild place, and that was one of the main focal points of conspiracy theorists when they were talking about back engineering stuff from a crashed UFOs was fiber optics and transistors, and that they all came about very shortly after Roswell, and people don't exactly know how they figured those out. Those were probably the most basic things that they recovered, so they're the easiest to figure out, so that's why we had them first, and it's just like those _ PlayStations, they release a better one every few years. Maybe they had PlayStation 5 in '95, but they're still giving us PlayStation 1 because they want to sell all 5. Well, they can't just give us a time machine, they have to give us a spaceship first. First of all, you got to figure out travel, you morons, and we won't even need a spaceship once we got a time machine. Yet then we'll give you the Big Bang machine. Yeah, that takes time, you got to get to a higher level civilization. Have you heard of a Dyson sphere? Do you know what a Dyson sphere? I've heard of it. What is it? I don't know. Well, it's a massive structure that some astronomers believe could indicate highly advanced, intelligent life somewhere in the universe. They've never been discovered, but they've been theorized that there was this article that I was reading yesterday about it. If you can find it, so it can tell you where it would be. They think they are massive structures that are literally like a structure the size of a solar system, and somebody made that. And those things are out there. Well, this is just theorized, right? When they're talking about the highest potential level of technological ability that you could get to. Yeah, I mean, imagine if you got to a place where you had a self-contained solar system that's completely controlled by these intelligent beings, but that's immune to all of the hazards. What if we're in that? We might be. That's the simulation. We might be. Thanos is like a type 2 civilization, one that can directly harvest the energy of its star using a Dyson sphere or something similar. So it is solar powered basically. Well, I don't know what it is. I mean, I think it's totally theoretical. There's no real versions of them that are out there. But the idea is that if technological proficiency and innovation continues at the level that it is now for millions of years, what does it get to? Yeah, but you know what? It's probably going to get where than that, cause you can imagine remember the 80s when you Had a Walkman, right? Well, what are they going to have in a few years, right? I'll be able to. You probably thought it was still going to be a cassette tape. Like when you watch The Fifth Element or Blade Runner, they're still using telephones. They didn't even think of cell phones, right? But that's our most obvious thing that we have right now. They had a walkie-talkie. Yeah, KK, outright? 'Cause you're still relating it from, 1960 military of space. Yeah, exactly, dude. That's not unreal. So it's going to, God of War, holy. It's going to keep going. That's what I think artificial intelligence is. I think, and I don't really think this is just a thought. Maybe the universe is God. And maybe the way God is created is through intelligent life. That intelligent life creates a far superior version of itself in artificial intelligence, and that creates a far better version of itself infinitely. They just keep making better versions of itself as it has more of an understanding and more capacity. And it grows, and it makes better versions of itself. It's eventually going to get to godlike powers, the power to create universes, the power to create solar systems, the power to stop time, reverse time, the power to traverse immense distances instantaneously. It'll just have capabilities that we could only imagine, we could just imagine and it can do that. Yeah, I mean, if we look at how we're living right now in comparison to how people were living when they were making those cave paintings, wow, insane paintings too, that's not going to stop right here. Yeah, but what's the thing they can do? The 3D printing, that's crazy, dude. It's the same, that's what they think the spaceships are made out of now. Yeah, like when Bob Lazar was first examining, if he's telling the truth, when Bob Lazar was first examining the spaceships, the thing that blew him away was there were no seams. It didn't make any sense. How could one even make something?